I am a hairdresser, 38 years old, currently running 4 beauty salons. Nancy Turner. From the moment I decided to become a hairdresser, my goal was to open my own salon. Therefore, after graduating from beauty school, I thought I would have the shortest possible time to train and acquire skills. I spent my days studying without time to play, along with learning business management. Even so, I enjoyed doing what I loved towards my dream, and no matter how much time I had, it was never enough. I met my husband before the opening of my first salon, where I recruited only a few staff members. He was the one who came to the interview.
Nice to meet you, I'm Frank Turner.
He greeted me cheerfully, and was 2 years younger than me. I loved people who could greet people in a loud voice. So I had a good impression of him. Nice to meet you, Frank. I'm Nancy Smith. Thank you for coming today.
I would like to have my own salon in the near future. It took me so long to decide what I wanted to do, and I started late to go to beauty school, but I finally graduated. But I wanted to find a job where I could be the best at something. That's how I came up with working at a beauty salon. From then I studied as hard as anyone else at school.
I think it's great to have a goal.
Your salon is currently recruiting opening staff, so I was determined that there's no other place for me, so I applied here. I would love to learn here.
I see. I understand how you feel. I've also come this far with similar goals.
Please let me learn about the technical and management aspects here. Please.
We'll finish the interview for today. Frank Turner, I'll hire you, and our job recruiting will be over.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll do my best.
Thank you, I'm looking forward to working with you. This is how I started the first memorable salon with my current husband as a member. This is how I met my husband. Frank was a man of his word and worked harder than anyone else in my salon, studied hard, then freely opened his own salon. I supported him because I had heard his dream from the beginning, and I taught him everything I could teach. He worked really hard during his training, and he came into the salon to practice even on his day off. I felt more and more supportive as it was like watching myself a little while ago. It was around the time when his salon was about to open.
Hey, Nancy. Please wait for me at the salon tomorrow night, and don't forget to dress up to the nines.
What's going on?
I couldn't have opened my own salon so soon without you, Nancy. I want to thank you, so please join me for dinner tomorrow night.
You shouldn't worry about that.
Please.
All right. I'll be there and make sure to dress up to nines.
Yay! Then I'll pick you up tomorrow.
I didn't expect to be taken to an authentic French restaurant that day, and I never imagined that he would propose to me.
Thank you for coming today, and thank you so much for everything you've done for me. From now on, I'm also one of your rivals in the same industry.
He said it and looked straight into my eyes with a smile. My heart missed a beat for a moment and I glanced away from him.
I have been holding back for a long time, until we were in the same position. Will you go out with me? No, actually, please marry me. That's why I asked you to come here today.
Goodness me.
I didn't want to say the word marriage out of the blue as it might turn you off, so I quickly changed to say, will you go out with me? But I am serious. I liked you from the first moment I met you at the interview. Well, it was kinda a sense of longing at the beginning. Nancy, will you become a family with me while we are looking after our own salon?
Well, actually, I still have plans to increase the number of salons by at least 3 more. So I can't think about marriage or children at the moment.
Just because we've married, it doesn't mean you have to become like a regular homemaker. We can have children when you want to have them. I'm also going through a hard time from now on, and if we get over that together, we'll be fine. You don't like me? You don't like younger men? No chance to even go out with me?
He looked anxiously into my face as I looked down. I made eye contact with him this time and said, "Thank you, I would love to." With these words, we started dating towards marriage. Looking back, this was the pinnacle of our happiness. Even though we are in the same industry, we both have different workplaces, we both have our own salons to look after, and we believed that we would be the best partners who shared the same sense of value and thoughts. After this, we registered our marriage when Frank's salon got on track, and we also bought an apartment to live in together. Since I had a lot of plans for my life with my salon, I had never really thought about marriage or anything like that, so I was undoubtedly the most surprised by the current situation. Soon after, I started preparing for the opening of the second salon. Since Frank and I had promised to keep out of each other's businesses, we only had small talk and did not explain them in detail. We increased the number of salons like this, and I was about to open the fourth salon, which I had been aiming for. It took me a long time to get here, and it was really tough, but above all, the fact that I was with him made it actually difficult, halfway through, for me to do what I wanted to do. Put simply, there was a big difference in the way Frank and I thought about running the salon. I always show up at all the salons every day to check how they are getting on, make sure to communicate with the staff, and try to serve at least one customer at each salon. As for Frank, what he said about wanting a place to work at the top was actually the exact opposite of what I meant. He left the salon to the staff, and only showed up when it first opened. The rest of the time he wasn't really working. He had been working hard to be the top up to that point, where he could just give them instructions, and take the easy way out. So there are a lot of staff members coming and going, they also lose repeat customers, and he's now ended up having only one salon, and losing money every month. Moreover, he says things like it's all the staff's fault, without giving them a chance. I hit the roof watching him. However, we had promised to keep our businesses totally separate, so I sucked it up. My first salon is a family-oriented salon in the town. The second one is near the train station, where young people gather, and the prices are set a little cheaper for young people. The third one is the exact opposite, a salon where everything is geared towards adult women, such as the customer service, the salon's design, and the service provided. Then the next one will be open near a fancy drinking place, and designed for dressing, hair and makeup for ladies before going to work at nightclubs. The concept of each salon is different, and the staff members are assigned to the salons that suit them the best. Sometimes we have meetings, dinners, and company-paid trips with all staff members from all salons. Of course, each salon steadily exceeded the previous year in sales. Frank probably found how I work was annoying. On the day before the opening of the fourth salon, I didn't have enough hands and feet to get ready for the new salon, while also having other salons currently in operation. However, I didn't want to ask him anything about my salon, even though he was just a couch potato. So I thought I'd at least ask him to do something for me at home. I had never asked him to do anything before, but I took the plunge and asked him. "Hey, Frank. I'm sorry, but I'm snowed under with work today, so can I get you to go to the bank for me?" I took out 3 different credit cards in my name from my wallet and handed them to him, explaining what I wanted him to do. Then he suddenly raised his voice, interrupting me.
Don't get cocky, just because you make a bit more money than I do. Who are you trying to get to do odd jobs?
He stood up, grabbed the scissors in one hand as he stood in front of me. I've never felt he was scary before. Then he was bold enough to cut up my credit cards, one by one, in order. "What the heck are you doing? That's terrible."
That's your fault because you are trying to make me do that. If you can't manage to do that yourself, why don't you hire someone to do it for you as you're earning a lot?
The things I've just asked you to do are all related to this house and our livelihood. You are also living here, so what's wrong with asking for help at least once? Can't you even help me with that?
Stop looking down on me like that. Shut up.
That's enough. I've got a lot on my plate. Don't make trouble for me anymore. I left the house after saying it. I didn't have time for a squabble and didn't want to be upset about such things now. I brooded over lots of things while heading to the new salon. No matter how many times I brood about it, I come up with the same consequence. I don't even need him anymore, and he is no longer the Frank I loved. I'm gonna break up with him. That's what I decided. For the time being, I was too busy to go home for a while. Then a week passed since that day. The opening of the new salon had settled down successfully, so I went home once. When I entered the house, I found a woman's shoes at the entrance. I didn't care about it and went inside, then put the divorce papers in the living room. Then I started to pack my stuff in my room. I kept hearing the flirting voice having fun from his room. I was so frustrated, but I didn't cry. Two of them came out of the room just as I was about to finish everything. Frank recognized my presence, and looked surprised for a moment, but pretended to be normal.
If you're coming home, say so. You surprised me, as you've just come home out of the blue, since you haven't come home for a while.
To my surprise, the woman standing behind him in her underwear was a regular customer I've always served at my first salon. She looked uncomfortable too, so I told her to get dressed anyway. She rushed back to his room. "I've brought the divorce papers in, they're in the living room, can you sign them right now?"
You made me think about where you were, and why you are now being so selfish.
You're the one being selfish.
Well, whatever. I'll do as you say.
He signed it with a smirk on his face. Then the woman he is having an affair with came into the living room, getting dressed.
I'm sorry, Nancy. I was never interested in him. I have always admired you, Nancy, and wanted to be like you. Then he approached me, and I wanted to get a feeling of being like you. I gave in to him. I'll never do this again. Please forgive me.
What the? Are you mocking me?
If you want to get the feeling of being like me, you can't do that with a man like him now. Go ahead if you wish, as I don't need him anymore.
I'm not gonna do that. I don't need him either.
That's so funny, Frank. No one needs you apparently.
What's the matter with you guys? Make sure to register the divorce papers. Go home, both of you.
He handed it over to me and I left the apartment with her. She kept apologizing when we were alone. His selfish behavior drives me round the bend though. I honestly didn't feel much anger towards this girl. I guess that was my true feeling, that I didn't love him anymore. I had already decided to divorce Frank, so don't apologize anymore. But I think you'd better stay away from a man like him. Come to my salon anytime, you are always welcome. She said nothing, crying, and I left her there. I wanted to be a cool woman in front of her who admired me. A few days later, the divorce papers were successfully registered and the process was completed. I phoned Frank to let him know about it. I registered the divorce papers and I want to go through with the apartment and other things in turn.
We'll split the property in half when we get divorced, right? As you know, my salon is in the red. So give me half the rights to your salon. This apartment is mine too, since you're the one who left.
He started to talk ridiculously. Since what he said was out of the question, we agreed to meet up later and I hung up the phone. He is trying to use our divorce to gain profit as he is not doing well in running his own salon. He is a real jerk. So I prepared myself to not lose to him. I took my lawyer with me in case things didn't go smoothly on the day of the meeting. He was surprised that I did not come alone. I want to sew things up today, don't give up halfway through.
I want to get it done quickly, too.
What do you want to do with the apartment? I'm not gonna live here anymore, but it's up to you, Frank. There's still the mortgage left, as long as you are able to manage that on your own.
Well, if you give me half of your salons, I can afford it, so I'll stay living there.
I can't do that, unfortunately, but would you still live there?
Why not? Half of the property between us as a couple is mine, isn't it?
That's true for savings and deposits within the household, whereas company property is only company property and is not subject to division between the couple in the event of divorce.
Are you kidding me?
You can't pay off the mortgage for this apartment under the circumstances, can you?
We've found that if you sell it now, an appraisal has been made that allows you to sell it for an amount exceeding the remaining mortgage. I recommend that you divide the amount with her and use it as moving expenses.
I'm not leaving that apartment.
He was completely rigid. In this discussion, he said he would continue to live in this apartment, which was initially purchased under both our names, after changing it under his name alone. Of course, we would both continue to run each other's salons, and everything worked out well for me personally, and I could go back to my own life. However, it seemed that life from here on would be terrible for him. After this, my fourth salon was settled down. And I continued to open new salons from one to another. I was able to enjoy opening new salons, as I didn't have to care about what Frank would think, which made me uncomfortable. The most important thing in expanding business was to have a good eye for people I can entrust my salon to and build good relationships with them. I lost some confidence because of what happened with Frank, and I may be betrayed by someone again in the future, but I will trust the employees I have chosen and continue to move forward without fear. Frank's salon closed down a few months after that day. He also hurriedly put the apartment on the market, but it could only be sold for less than the remaining mortgage due to probably its poor condition after our divorce. He is apparently having a hard time with money after all, including the debt for his salon and the mortgage on the apartment. It is ironic that someone who has lived his entire life with the dream of making money easily is now struggling to make ends meet. I couldn't find the happiness of marriage, but I was able to achieve success in my work beyond my wildest dreams. I feel happy with my life.